I'm Bishop.
And I'm Dr. Steph.
Thank you so much for tuning in to this YouTube channel. We appreciate you so much for being connected to this place we call our life, our journey,
and our truth.
And we want to make sure that you absolutely comment, make sure you connect with us, make sure you like and
share and subscribe.
Because that means a lot to us. And we read those comments and we appreciate you. This community is growing and we want you to continuously help us do that. And of course, we appreciate all of you who tell us all around the world how these episodes are blessing your life. Also, if you want to get our content or our merch, go to josephwalker3.org. Got some cool t-shirts out there, a couple of Destiny, Connections, a New Currency, any color you want, all those cool things. And of course, our book will bless you. Becoming a Couple of Destiny will bless you. And of course, we just want to make sure that you get all that you can. Make sure you follow her now. You got to follow Dr. Steph. Dr. Steph on IG. Follow me. That's Dr. Steph Walker. Follow me at Joseph Walker 3. And we would love to just be in community with you. And we appreciate you so much for joining us on this journey as we're all trying to get it better. Let me tell you, today I'm excited because we're talking about dating do's
and don'ts.
Dating is such a different thing now because, I think the way we understand dating is generational. I think when people say to us, I'm dating, I think for us, dating was kind of more, I'm dating a person exclusively.
Yeah.
Now dating is like, I'm just dating people.
I'm just going out.
Yeah.
Hanging out.
And it's interesting to kind of define that because our conversation is not going to make sense unless people really understand specifically what we're talking about. It's not just the casual dating different people, but it's really about the kind of person you give focused energy toward.
Yeah.
The kind of person you really, I would say kind of exclusively are seeing at that time, or who you really locking in on, say, I'm in a committed relationship with my dating, who deserves that space in my life. And that,
I guess old folks would call it courting.
Yeah.
Meaning that the relationship has a destination. Like your goal is for it to be going somewhere as opposed to just in it, just to be in it.
And so you just said something, because that is really one of the things you have to think about in terms of do's and don'ts. Like, don't date anybody without a destination.
Unless you're just hanging out.
Unless you're hanging out.
Yeah. Like you have to be able to define and know the difference. And I think the most important story is the story that you tell yourself, because sometimes you can get into these relationships and you can lie to yourself. You can try to make it more than what it is, or make it less than what it is in your mind, knowing that the other person has different expectations. So really just being honest with yourself about what is really going on between the two of you.
Yeah, and that's so important because I think sometimes we can kind of create this unrealistic expectation, and we can propel that upon somebody, and they're like, whoa, what's going on? So I think it's very important that when I come into a committed relationship with somebody, when I put that energy of intentionality into a person, it has to have a mutual destination. Whether you arrive at that or not, at least you're aiming toward it. Because if you find yourself saying, where is this going? I'm putting all this time in, I just don't know where we are. That's probably a don't. That's probably somebody you should never have given that level of commitment to, which I think also speaks to, making certain that you have healthy
dialogue and communication.
Yes. You have to set those up front. Now, I think it's important now. Don't get spooky with it.
Yeah.
Be somebody.
What we doing?
Where we going? Where we going?
We gonna get married?
You tripping. You tripping. I'm like, yo, you on something else, right?
Like, it's okay to be in a friendship, getting to know people, trying to evaluate for yourself personally if you feel like this is something that has legs, or something that you even want to give more focused time to. There's nothing wrong with that. You don't have to have long, deep conversations about that. It's just giving it time, being observant, going out, having fun, enjoying each other's time, conversation, and seeing what comes of it.
Yeah.
But then when you do feel like you would like for it to go somewhere and you feel that you're getting the same vibes, it's important to have that conversation, just so that you are not making assumptions, right? And miscommunicating miscommunicating or misconstruing what you are experiencing in that situation.
Yeah, and I think a part of that conversation is really being honest. I think about what you really want to know. I think sometimes we avoid some of the tough questions
Questions,
because we want
yeah,
to kind of believe,
yeah.
again, the story we told ourselves in our head. And you have
Mm-hmm.
to own the fact that these are critical questions from the very beginning of the relationship turning serious that you have to ask this person so that you're not, months or years down the road, like I should have asked, I should have known. So it's
Mm-hmm.
incredibly
Or
important.
that you're not in a relationship by yourself, making assumptions that you guys are, focused on one another and you're focused on them, but they're
Right.
not focused on you. Like, you just want to be clear about where things are. And then you're able to make your own educated choices, right? Like, you want to make informed choices about what you're doing with your time.
Yeah. So I think that's important. So I think as you begin to process that and you look at the fact that every, person who enters into a relationship of any, significance regarding,
Mhm.
dating or etc., that it is important that you absolutely have those conversations. I think it's going to be, I think one of the key things that we can share with you. Now, I think one of the things that's also important is standards.
Mhm.
And I think the way I could explain this is a few weeks back in our ministry, I talked about how we are cedar trees, right? Psalm 92 talks about, that we will be flourishing and prosperous
Mhm.
and like a cedar tree. And the cedar tree is known for its resilience, its strength, its durability, but it is known for its height. And cedar trees stand at a certain altitude, and sometimes we allow ourselves to get in the weeds and the bushes for relationships, and we feel that maybe my cederness is an unrealistic expectation. And so therefore, in order for me to really get into the pool of people that are available, maybe I need to bend over and come into the weeds or the hedges. And I'm telling you today that there are other cedars out there, because Dr. Steph and I have always said it. Her mother's told it to us, and we believe it, that what you are looking for.
Is looking for
So
you.
there are other cedars out there. So
Mhm.
don't settle for the bushes.
Don't get in that place of desperation where you're looking at the numbers and feeling like, oh, well, this is better than nothing. No, it's not.
And listen
No,
to your
no,
and you're
it's
listening
not.
to your friends saying your
Yeah,
standards are so unrealistic.
yeah.
You should no. You have to understand that you have to get to a place where you recognize your value and you
Mm-hmm.
recognize your worth. And if
Mm-hmm.
you didn't make compromises, then you're gonna always be making compromises. And so anything that does not, and I think this is one of the most important lessons about, I
Yeah.
think, in the Garden of Eden, Adam and Eve. And I want you to hear this, that Eve was a presentation to Adam. She was a gift from God to Adam. And any person who understands you as a gift would never mishandle you.
Mm-hmm.
And people mishandle what they don't appreciate or don't
Mm-hmm.
understand.
Or what they're intimidated by.
Yeah. And I think
Mm-hmm.
that's important. And so we're going to come to that because I think that when you can stand and keep your standards high, I think you will attract into yourself people who are
Mm-hmm.
similarly positioned like you. And I think
Mm-hmm.
that's a huge thing. And then I think also stop allowing yourself to believe the intimidation game.
Yeah.
There are no women out there that really
Yeah.
understand me because they're intimidated. There are no men out there because they're intimidated. So therefore, you want to dummy down your success to try to accommodate. That's a dope, man, right? Like I've
Mm-hmm.
seen that.
That's a
Like,
for sure
like
don't.
I could have been intimidated by her success. I mean, she was doing it. I mean, she was out here like killing it, but I wasn't intimidated, nor was she intimidated by me. We
No.
just got to a point we lived in our own skin, our
Yeah.
own accomplishments, and realized we were coming together for something bigger than ourselves. And so I think it's important for you not to compromise, not to negotiate
Mm-hmm.
around your accomplishments, around your successes, and just be okay with that
Yeah.
and know that relationships of value will find you if you are comfortable in your own skin.
And then on the flip side, you were talking about having standards and certain
Yeah.
expectations of relationships or what have you. You have to be able to meet your own standards in order to hold those standards.
Ooh,
You can't have expectations of other
see
people
that making
and
sense.
expectations of a certain lifestyle
Talk
that you
here.
cannot maintain
Talk
for
here.
yourself,
Talk here.
right? If you're looking for someone to sort of bankroll your situation there, that is a problem, right? You need to be able to do for yourself what you have the expectation of others to be able to do for themselves and for you as well. And so, sometimes people fall into this trap of having extreme expectations that they don't even meet themselves. And so just being mindful of that, not saying it's not good to have expectations. You want to have expectations, you want to have goals, you want to be driven, but you have to be realistic about where you're going as well. If you're going in that direction, yes, have that expectation that
Yeah.
that person is going in that same
Yeah.
direction. But if you're going left and and you want to go right, but you're still going left, you cannot have that expectation that you are going to meet up and be equally yoked with someone who's going in the right direction when you're not doing that yourself. And so, one of the things that's important to do in this sort of dating season is get yourself right. Focus on you for a while. If you have and want grand expectations and you're not there yet, this is not the time for you to be out there then. This is the time for you to be focused on yourself,
Yeah.
building yourself, making yourself the best person that you could possibly be for you. Because like we just said, what you're looking for is looking for you, right? And so if you're becoming and working on becoming, that person who you're supposed to meet will also be doing the same thing. But if you're being trifling and talking about becoming, but you're not really becoming and you're having these grand expectations, unfortunately, again, God's timing is perfect. When you get to that place
Right.
and you get to that spot and you're able to meet that person and you're not who you're supposed to be in that moment, you risk missing the moment.
Yeah.
And that's what
That's
you
real.
don't want to do. And
That's
the
so real.
reason that I'm saying this, and this is no shade on anyone, the reason that I'm saying this is because sometimes in this dating world, people get so focused on finding their Boaz or finding their, Ruth or whoever, that you don't focus on your personal growth.
That's good.
And so you miss out
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
your focus is in the wrong place. Become the best version of you that you can possibly be, and I promise you, you will be able to get what you want and who you want out of life because God will honor that. Don't you
Yeah,
believe
I
that?
believe that with all of my heart, and I think that's one of the things
Yeah.
I think about all the time. I hear men say, man, she's got to pass the eye test, man. Let me see if she's this weight and she's this that, and I'm like, but bruh,
And
what
he
about
walking
you?
around with Dunlap disease. His belly done lapped over his
I'm
belt.
done.
I mean, come
I'm
on now.
done.
You're not in the gym
I'm done.
24/7. You're looking for a Beyonce, but you're not as Jay-Z. Like, you have to be realistic about what your expectations
Oh my
are. I
God,
think that, I mean, this is
it's so
real.
true. Yeah, it's so true. You said Dunlap. Y'all heard that? Your Dunlap disease. Your stomach Dunlapped over your belt. Let me tell you something, but it's so true though, right? Like you sit around and you want, this woman to be pristine, you want her to be, this, model, whatever, your dental hygiene ain't right or your hair ain't right. You got to be the best version of yourself. And so at the end of the day, you
Just
cannot
being the
expect what you're
best
not.
version of
Yes,
yourself.
financially, emotionally,
Yes.
physically, those things, because then if
Yes.
you set the standard, I am the standard. I take care of my stuff. I take care of this. I do this. And so I expect when we come together, we are mutually, how can two walk together unless
Unless
they
they
agree?
agree. And
So,
it's not about being perfect.
no,
There's no such thing as perfection. And if you're looking for a mate that's perfect, that person is not for you.
yeah,
Like, everyone will fail your perfection
yeah,
test,
every
and
day.
you're not perfect yourself, right? And so it's about identifying someone who, one, is equally yoked,
Yeah,
but then also can deal with your mess, right? Who is accepting of who you are and your imperfections and your baggage, and likewise,
how about
right?
that? How about that? Someone who can deal with your mess, who is anointed to
Hmm.
handle the worst of you and believe God for the best of you.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Because see, some people can't handle the worst of you. And people get up, in these grand weddings, and they just get so enamored by looking at each other's eyes, goo gaga, and they just totally forget what I'm saying.
Because they've never even had the
They have the
conversation or
conversation.
shared with
Yeah.
one another sort of their baggage. You
Yeah.
don't want to cross that threshold in terms of jumping the broom until you know that this individual knows you well enough to love you and the baggage that you're carrying with you.
Yeah, that's so true. Because I'm going to say it, for better, for worse, rich or poor, sickness and health. That could happen a lot of different ways, for
It's not
better.
for better or better, for
Be-
health and health,
yeah.
for,
And
so
health is a
yeah,
lot of things. Health is
yeah.
a lot of different ways health can decline.
Mm-hmm.
Sickness can happen a lot of different ways, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's important to understand that. So
Yeah.
I think it's important. I think also one of the things we committed to when we were dating, and I knew this is when I knew. I'm gonna tell you, this is when I absolutely knew it, right? She said, because we both were incredibly blessed when we got together. When we came together, we realized God
Mm-hmm.
had blessed us both individually. We were coming
Mm-hmm.
together. She says, if we lose everything, we'll just get a one-bedroom studio apartment, get us some ramen noodles, and we'll just start all over again, as long as we're together. Somebody who you believe, if the
Mm-hmm.
bottom falls out, that would be there with you to reimagine a future because they're not connecting to you because of the stuff.
Yeah.
They're
Yeah.
connecting to you because of the substance
Yeah.
of the
And on
relationship.
the flip side, how we got to that conversation is because I asked him, do you remember? I said, if you lose everything, would you be able to cope with that? And that question for me, for him, was, you are successful, but is this what defines
Yeah,
you?
yeah,
I was trying to identify where his values
yeah,
lied,
yeah,
lied, I
yeah.
don't know.
Late.
Like, yeah, like where his values were. Are your values in material goods? Is that what defines you? Is that what you feel like makes you you? Or are you grounded in the Lord? Are you grounded in substance? Are you grounded in real substantial values? Do you have a sense of self outside of this, world of, people looking at you, watching you? Are you defined by your career? If you lose everything tomorrow, are you the type of person that's going to jump off the bridge? Are you the type of person that's going to, harm yourself because or feel like you can't, live another day? Like those are fundamental issues
Yeah,
that you need to sort of understand
so
in
true.
terms of the person that you're dealing with. You need to be able to be with somebody who's like, look, the bottom fell out. We're not going to act all brand new. We're going to start over from scratch. We haven't always had it all, and we're just going to rebuild and do it all over again. Let's go. You willing to
Yeah,
roll with me or
yeah,
not?
yeah,
So that you can understand. And that's what he was talking about in terms of earlier, like values and things, like making sure people's values are in the right place. Because in this super Instagram, Facebook, image society, everything looks good, right?
Hmm.
And all that glitters isn't gold,
No,
right? People can look good on the outside, but be so messed up on the inside. And so, yes, frequently people are, getting together or meeting via social media. There is nothing wrong with that.
yeah,
No hateration from us regarding that. If that's the sign of the times today, then go with it,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
But then once you do sort of make that connection, figure out how to go deeper in your conversations, figure out how to really truly get to know that person away from social media. Who are you really behind those pictures? Some people will show those pictures like, they have this image and this side of the room is pristine and perfect. But if you turn that
Oh
camera,
gosh, yeah,
5 feet,
yeah.
it's full of garbage and trash and dirty dishes and all that stuff. Like, what does your life look like in real life when the camera is not shining and
That's
the
good.
lights aren't on? Like,
That's good.
who are you really? And if you cannot get to that with someone in terms of understanding what that looks like behind closed doors,
That's good.
then it's not ready for you.
That's
It's
right.
it's not the time for you to move on. You don't have to throw the baby out with the bathwater, but in terms of making that commitment and assuming that you know this person, you don't know them.
Yeah.
And so don't move forward in making that type of commitment until you feel comfortable and confident about having those types of conversations.
That's real good. That's real good. One final thing we'll say,
Hmm.
I think it's one of the most important things. I think
Yeah.
it really is. I think the thing that I have seen both sides of this, and to be honest with you, I've really had some very serious concerns around this area, and it's about faith, and it's about
Hmm.
how when you date people, how important it is to be equally yoked and to understand your spiritual convictions. And I have seen people, unfortunately, uh, compromise their spiritual convictions on the altar of being with somebody. This person doesn't go to church. You're in church every week getting the word. I don't want to go to church. Well, then all of a sudden now your language is, well, church isn't that important. We're gonna lay up and go to brunch. This person's is
Mm-hmm.
influencing you away from the things that have built you up to the person you are today, or this
Mm-hmm.
person's negativity around faith and church and these things now are now becoming a part of who you are. And so what's important is you have to have a non-negotiable because it is the Lord God, right, who brings you together. He's given you everything that you have. And the moment you allow, watch this, another person to pull you away from that, you know what that's called? An idol. And you have
Mm-hmm.
made that person
Mm-hmm.
your little God. And
Mm-hmm.
God will then do this and say, all right, they got you. So when you need healing, go to them. When you need provision, go to them. Then the
Mm-hmm.
moment they break your heart, where
Yeah.
you at? Back at the altar. Oh, Jesus, help me, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's so important that you really make your mind up and declare one of your standards are we will worship together. We will stay in God's word together. We will grow our family. These are
Yeah.
values that I think are
And will
non-negotiables,
stand the test of time.
stand the test of time. And I
Mm-hmm.
think, you can say that's old fashioned if you want, but let me tell you something. The fact is, when you're single, you're in church, you're at everything, you're in the word, then you start dating and you start falling off. We're like, we can tell you got a boo because you won't see you but one time a month now because
Right.
y'all what's going on? Like this, you have to make certain that you build your marriage, your relationship, whatever this is going on a
Mm-hmm.
foundation that is going to be consistent. And I think
And solid.
that's going to be the key,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
This is a great conversation. I think everybody needs to really think through some of the do's and don'ts. And
Yeah.
I think when you think about it, it really is about we all make mistakes. We all have people we wish we had
Mm-hmm.
never dated. We all got people we like, Lord, what was I in my life
Yeah.
when I was doing that?
And dating is not bad
Yeah,
though,
yeah,
right? Because dating is also helping you understand what you want, what you don't want, what you will tolerate, what you won't tolerate. So it's not about even dating being perfect. It's about when you're finally making that commitment to move forward um, towards a real destination, making sure that you're making wise choices, using wisdom in terms of the things that we're currently saying. Because dating is just that, it's trial and error, it's learning. You're not only learning other people, but you're learning yourself more importantly.
yeah. Let me tell you a story as we close. I want you to never forget this, right? Never forget this. On the one hand, there's this car. It's a nice car, but it's a rental. And that car can be rented out, but it has to be returned because it doesn't belong to you. Um, you can get in it and enjoy the ride. It's amazing. You can flex with it. You can take pictures on Instagram with it, but it's a rental and it's got to be returned. You know why? Because next week, somebody else going to be in that car.
Mm-hmm.
And the week after that, somebody else going to be in that car. The rental car, even though it's beautiful and it does all that, it has more miles than a normal car because it's got so many people that just keep going in and out of it, using it up and down the road. Maybe God is saying to you, it may seem like really popular to just be out and doing all, but you can't be a rental car and have all these miles on you and people coming in and out of your life and leaving trash behind, leaving stuff and trauma. But then there's another car. I want you to think about it. And rental cars have commercials because they're very popular. But there's another car I've never seen a commercial for. It's a Rolls Royce. I've never seen a Rolls Royce commercial. Have you? I see Avis, Hertz, Enterprise, but I never see a Rolls Royce commercial. Because Rolls Royce doesn't have to advertise. Because those who
Mm-hmm.
know,
No.
they know. And that Rolls Royce will sit on the lot. Sometimes we'll go by just to look at cars sometimes. That one car will sit there for 4 months, sometimes 6 months.
Untouched,
And they're
unscathed.
unbothered by it
Mm-hmm.
because they know the right customer is going to come in and they're not going to finance that. They're going to write a check for that because they appreciate the value. Don't go in a Rolls Royce dealership trying to say, can I get a deal? Because it is what it is. It may have a longer showroom tenure, but when it's bought, the right person shows up that appreciates its value. Either you're going to be a rental car or you're going to be a Rolls Royce. It's your choice. Let that one sink in.
Yeah.
I'm Bishop.
And I'm Dr. Steph.
Peace out.